Dr. Park, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Brian?
Great. It's great to see you.
Hello.
Oh my God. We don't just have the dads, everyone, but we have Jackson and Grayson as well.
Yeah, we got everybody here.
This is awesome. So I know, Jonathan, if you can, I can see Jimmy. I can't see Jonathan as well. No, Jimmy, don't move.
Oh.
You guys just gotta get closer together. That's all. There we go. Oh my God, look at those faces. This is so great. All right. This is adorable. So again, these guys are going to be 4 months old on July 4th, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's an
It's
awesome
so
fourth.
fast already.
Oh, so cute. This is great that you guys have brought them on. So Jonathan and Jimmy, let me start by saying thank you so much for joining us. Before we begin, Jonathan, I understand you're a police lieutenant, correct?
Yes, I am.
So I just want to thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Next, Dr. Park, it's always great to see you, and I appreciate you joining us tonight as well.
Of course, glad to be here.
All right, so Jimmy and Jonathan, why don't you guys start? Just tell us a little bit about your story, where you live, how you've been together, when you became dads. Because it's kind of interesting, because you haven't been together a while.
So we'll try to make this short.
Okay.
So we've been together for about 20 years now.
Awesome.
When we got together, having a family was something that we've always kind of dreamt of, but obviously in our situation, especially back a long time ago, we didn't really know if this was even going to be something that would even be in our realm. Right. But as we kind of, as we went through our relationship together and we tried to figure out like options and different ways to try to make this happen, we did some research and we found Dr. Park, and that was a huge part of like kind of feeling like this would actually be able to happen. And then we kind of went through a few more steps, obviously, and then the pandemic hit. So I think we saw Dr. Park before the pandemic hit, and then we took a little pause just because there were other priorities. And then as things started to lighten up a little bit more, we decided to just kind of move forward, and this is like the time. This is the kind of time to do it. We were gonna go for it, and now 4 months later, we got these little guys.
So tell us about your decision to have twins.
It's tiring, and nobody warned us about that.
I got twin girls who are 12 now. I can warn you.
So there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, everybody told us take as many naps as possible, go out to eat as much as possible, because after they come, your life is over as you know it for that period of time. And it's true. I mean, I think between everything that's happened, the sleep deprivation is definitely the hardest part. We kind of talked about it. I used to do shift work and patrol. So maybe for the first couple of weeks, I was okay imagining in my brain, I was working a graveyard shift that just kind of never ended. And, you expect for the first 2, maybe 3 weeks to be very tired. But by week 4 and then 5 and then 6, and it's not ending and you're still not sleeping, it's really rough. And we're just very fortunate that we both have family in town and plenty of friends who volunteered and like made dinners for us, made food for us, came over and held the kids obviously, and gave us a chance to do laundry, take a shower, brush your teeth because you've forgotten in the last 3 days. Just, very simple things that you take for granted when you have, your hands free and the time to do it. And that's, I think, the other hard part with twins, that parents of singletons can like, eventually they'll switch off at night. Hey, this is your night to sleep. I'll wake up when the baby wakes up and take turns that way. But when there's 2, it's always, for us, all hands on deck. And so that, just that's the hardest part, is kind of living through a fog for the first few months, honestly. And it's funny, like just the last week or so, they're both, well, Jackson especially is starting to sleep maybe about 6 hours a night. And this one did it last night too. So last night they both slept together for 6 hours, and we were like
Great.
amazed. And I feel like I'm jinxing it now by saying it out loud. But it's, you know, like you said, like everybody says, it's just a moment in time that it's hard, and it gets better, and then you just have different challenges.
Correct. But you're not as exhausted. I will promise you, you won't always be exhausted.
Yeah.
Dr. Park, before I get you, I have a couple of questions. I want to talk about twins and twin journey. But first, Tom, like, you are amongst the special tier, top tier docs who've got fantastic reputations, and you're just passionate about supporting the LGBT plus community when it comes to family building. Can you share, like, what drew you to become so passionate about helping us and working with our families?
So I'm not LGBTQ, but, you know, I came to this country as an immigrant, didn't speak any English. I grew up in New York City, in Elmhurst, Queens. And for those who don't know, you know, Elmhurst is a very poor area of New York, and that's where all the immigrants go. And growing up, it was very clear to me that I was poor. And one of the things my parents did various jobs, but one of the jobs was owning a store. And I remember not being well treated at the store, nor was my dad, even though he owned it, because we didn't speak English well. My English was better than his. And I remember thinking, gosh, if I'm ever in a position where I could be kind to somebody or not make somebody feel less than, like, I really hope that I will remember this and treat them well. And so I go about my career, and, you know, as I'm, you know, the typical patient that the fertility doctor treats as a heterosexual couple. And when I first came to San Diego, I had already been practicing for 8 years in New York. And I'd come here in 2012, and there wasn't much LGBTQ, and I thought it was just odd, right? Because coming from New York, right, we had LGBTQ. And that's when I realized, like, how do we not treat all types of people? And I said, like, I may not be LGBTQ, but I do know what it feels like to be marginalized. And so I said, you know, everybody deserves to be a parent, regardless of sexual orientation, right? Regardless of religion, regardless, like, if you love a child, you deserve to have that opportunity. I can't promise success for everybody, but I can promise you that I will do my best. And that's what drove me down this road.
Well, and it's great, and you really are. I'm not exaggerating when I say that your reputation precedes you, and you really are. We're so proud to have you as one of our family building partners.
Thank you.
Give me, Jonathan, I want to ask you first how you came to the decision about having twins, and then Dr. Park, would you mind sort of, when people come to you, I know most couples who are considering a surrogacy journey probably come thinking they want to do twins, so I'd love to get your input after that.
So I think with a lot of couples going through, like, their journey of, like, figuring it out, twins was definitely not something that we thought of in the beginning. And then as we were learning more about the process, and then going through this whole journey with Dr. Park and her team, we decided that trying to have twins would be, like, probably the best route for us, kind of with timing, and then the you know, the other part of this is that the financial aspect of it is probably a big motivator that kind of convinced us to, you know, if we wanted to have more than one child, we should try to have it now, and it might be a little more cost effective for us to be able to do that.
That's the ultimate buy one get one free situation.
Yeah.
Great.
As long as
Dr.
you have a surrogate that's willing to do it, right? And that's the other piece of it is, you know, you can picture in your head what you want and what your ultimate goal is, and if life, you know, brings you that, then that's awesome. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't, and you work through it. But certainly with Dr. Park's support and the education that she gave us, I mean, I walked out of our initial consultation knowing far more about the female reproductive system than I've ever known. And just what I'm saying is, like, she was so thorough and detailed just in our initial consultation that we both left the office saying, well, this is it. We don't need to go anywhere else. I mean, I think we both have very good instincts on people and their motivation. And when we meet somebody that we know is going to work, we know. And
Right.
that's what happened.
That's great. That's a great story. Dr. Park, we've had numerous conversations about twins, etc. Would you want to share a little bit about your reaction, what you probably told these guys, no doubt?
So I would say that most fertility doctors are very anti-twins, and I completely respect and understand that. You know, I've been doing this 20 years now, long time. And so I practice in the age where, oh my gosh, we always put in 2, 3, 4, right? Because back in the day, IVF was not that successful, right?
Right.
So that was the norm. And so twins don't scare me. But for me, the important thing is education, education, education. And I feel that if somebody's been educated on the risks, and despite hearing all of that, they say, hey, we heard you loud and clear, but we still want to move forward, then I'm 100% behind them. So here are the risks. So number one, right, as Jonathan alluded to, it takes longer to find a surrogate. Not all women want to carry twins. Okay, so you have to be patient. 2, not all surrogates meet the criteria for twins. They may be great surrogates for a singleton, but oh wait, gosh, she wants to carry twins. Oh no, you know, she's not tall enough. She's not, oh, we're not going to accept her. So even if she's willing, our medical clearance may take longer.
Okay.
Well, let's say that she's thumbs up, good to go. Her medical risks are higher of becoming diabetic, developing high blood pressure. And if she develops that while pregnant and they can't control it with medications, the twins will be delivered prematurely just to save her life.
Wow.
She's high risk for bed rest. So if she's not working, if she's not bringing in money, then you're on the hook for her lost wages. And of course, the scariest is higher risk of preterm labor and preterm delivery.
Yeah.
And, you know, most twins deliver prematurely and usually about 4 weeks before that due date. And believe it or not, at 36 weeks, because due date is 40 weeks, at 36 weeks, most twins do fine. They don't belong in the ICU. The lungs are mature, unlike a singleton whose lungs usually are not ready at 36 weeks. And that's usually from the stress of sharing the uterus with another sibling. Okay, but what if they deliver at 32 weeks or 30 weeks? Well, then their brain, the heart, the lung, the intestines, none of that is ready. So they will be in the ICU for a number of months. And what you cannot predict is how early they will deliver and what are the long-term medical consequences.
Okay.
So it is a risk you're taking, right? And so people have to be willing to accept that risk. If it is small, that they will be severely premature, but it's not zero.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing on that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yep. Well, I was just going to say for my international intended parents, I really, really discourage it, really for financial reasons, because it's really hard to find insurance for twin pregnancies. So it becomes this risk that you're paying cash for their hospitalization, and it's so expensive. One day in the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit, is very expensive for 2 babies. So if they're there for months, you can imagine the hospital bill.
Yeah. Oh, I don't even want to imagine that. Give me back the, you didn't go through any of that stuff then?
No, we did not. Our surrogate created such a hospitable environment that they didn't want to come out. So we had to plan a C-section actually on 38 weeks.
Wow.
So they stayed in for a lot longer than we thought, because just like Dr. Park said, we really anticipated that they'd be coming sometime after, hopefully after 32 or as the earliest, maybe in that range. Yeah, they just wanted to hang out in there. And so for their health and for our surrogates' health, and that's kind of the biggest thing that we always was able to express, was that, like, if we want to go through this process as long as it is safe for everybody involved. And so we made the decision along with our OB to say, hey, like, let's just get them out and have a nice, safe journey for like everybody.
Yeah. So no NICU, no jaundice.
Awesome.
They came.
That's
Amazing.
great. So,
Yeah.
were you guys there when at the delivery, the birth?
Yeah. So we all, the four of us, our surrogate, her husband, and Jimmy and I checked in together early in the morning, and they got our surrogate prepped and ready to go. This was in March, and the hospital that we were at were still following some COVID protocols. So knowing that they would be delivered in the OR, which twins always are, that we've been informed for risk purposes, we knew that she would only be allowed to have one support person. So we were obviously going to let her husband be in their operating room with her. And they took her back and got her ready. And they had her husband gown up, and he went back, and we were just filling out paperwork, and all of a sudden we start getting pictures that they're being delivered, and we're like, what's happening? We're still filling out the paperwork. We're not ready. We're not ready to be parents. And then the pictures started flooding in from her husband, and he actually cut the cord, for both of them. And then he's like, get ready, they're coming back to the room, and we're
like minutes.
Minutes. And then we're getting cameras set up and ready to go. And I mean, it was just the whole process was so amazingly smooth. And, obviously the babies came, and, we're dumbfounded. But looking back at my video, Arrogant got wheeled back into the room within 14 minutes. And it was just amazing to me that they patched her up, and she's right back in there with us, and we shared the hospital room for the next couple days because she was a friend that we're close enough to that we did that. And at one point they were willing to give us separate rooms, obviously, and if it were different circumstances where we didn't know her, that might have been better, but we did know each other, and we all just hung out in the hospital for a couple of days, and it was great.
Wow, that's amazing. Just one more question for you guys. Well, two more, but one for you, then one for Dr. Park. Do you remember what it was like the first time you held the babies? Can you talk us through those emotions?
For me, I think it was just, I couldn't believe that this was happening to us. And I couldn't believe that this was actually happening. This right here in this moment was real. And I think that was where I was at, was it. I think with the combination of it happening so quickly, and then them coming in, the realization just came out of left field. I mean, I was super happy, but then I was like, what is going on? Is this am I in a dream or what's going on?
And what are we supposed to do now?
Yeah.
Are these ours? And
It's all a
we spent a couple
dream.
Yeah, we spent a couple of days in the hospital, but even the day that we're carrying them out, we're like, okay, so nobody's gonna check on us every hour to make sure who's knocking on our door to make sure we're good, that we have everything. So that was probably, and I'm sure for every parent is the scariest part is driving home and then coming home to an empty house, and it's just
you,
the four of you, you, and you're like, okay, so what are we supposed to do with you?
It's awesome that you guys both have family that are local. That's really great. Dr. Park, what advice do you have, or words of wisdom do you have for someone watching who's considering becoming a parent through surrogacy and IVF, or has been now inspired thanks to Jimmy and Jonathan and the twins?
I want them to know that your journey is possible, for sure, and every journey is different. So I think it's great to get advice and share stories with your friends, but be prepared that your journey will be unique. It will have its ups and it will have its downs. But one thing for sure is that you will have a family. It may not be as fast as you wanted. It may not be with the agency you initially thought. There will be a lot of turns along the way, but it will happen. So it requires a lot of patience and truly a lot of faith that, okay, this is meant to be. There's a time and a place for me, and that time will come. I don't know when, but it will come.
That's great. I love that. John, any advice you want to share?
Be patient. like Dr. Park said, I mean, we started our journey in 2019, and obviously there's a pandemic in the middle of it, and a lot of other factors, you know, finding the right surrogate and stuff. So again, you might have a plan in your head and you're like, this is, you know, how I'd like it to go. And then life finds a way, right? Yeah. To either throw a monkey wrench or do something unexpected. But at the end of the day, like Dr. Park said, you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You can have a family as well. It might not be the family that you pictured initially, but you can have it. And for us, it happened to work out perfectly, and we're very blessed for that.
I think I would also just advise, like, you just never know nowadays. I would check with your employer to see if there are any resources that you can lean on as far as like financial benefits and things like that, that can really help you in this journey, if that's something that that is a concern. But then also just in general, like even with the whole process, looking at like what your employer can help you with. There are so many resources out there now that are made specifically to help families grow, and all families grow. So I took advantage of that, and I was able to use some benefits through my work to be able to help us to kind of aid a few things in this whole journey as well.
That's great to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I more and with all of your advice, and this is one of the reasons we created GWK Academy, is to have all these resources available where we take you through the entire journey, everything you need to know before you even get started. We introduce you with mentors like dads who have recently gone through the journey, and we can even connect you with amazing family building partners like Dr. Park. So Dr. Park, San Diego Fertility Center, Jimmy, Jonathan, the twins, thank you all so much for being here. Really, really appreciate it. I'm going to ask Jonathan just to move in quickly. We get one quick screenshot of all of you guys. There you go. Awesome. Thank you all so much. It was awesome talking to you. I appreciate your time. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good to see you.